Okay, welcome everybody. What's everyone drinking?
I am drinking water for now.
Really?
Keeping it healthy, yo.
Explain why. Explain why.
Why? Because I was out in the sun all day. So I got a little bit dehydrated and I have a little buzz, but not that much. And so I'm drinking water right now.
It's a carryover buzz. That's good. We can work with that.
So like from
A
a
little
one
buzz.
a 1 to a 10.
No, like a 6. A funky Buddha. It's like a beer buzz. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Little beer buzz.
All right, what about everybody else?
Jose, what you drinking?
I got a little bit of vodka and a little bit of I think beer. I'm kind of screwed. You know why? But no, let me explain why. The reason was that I had Thanksgiving, so we're kind of like bottom barrel out. So
Yeah, same.
I'm bottom barrel. So next time I'll have something a little more worthy.
Wait, but is it the
showcasing.
vodka and the beer together?
Yeah, with a little bit of juice. I just said bleh, and I'll call it the Captain Jack for right now.
Captain Jack.
It's a little bit of everything.
I have just a little bit of vodka and juice. Don't ask me what juice.
What
Clean.
type of juice?
It's like man, I forgot. You know, like those like
Minute Maid one?
nah. It's not a Minute Maid. Wait, I forget the name
He's
of it.
got
but
a
it's
juice
like,
box.
It's like some healthy juice that you grab and I just and it.
Is it
that's
juicy
like this.
juice?
Nah, I don't know what it is. I just.
What is it called?
Go to the fridge and bring us a picture of it.
Oh my
Nah,
god.
they better pay me for that.
We'll take your word for it.
The
We'll
real
take your word
question
for
is-
it.
the
We'll
real
take your word for
question
it.
is, what is Joanna drinking?
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a Kentucky Mule, which is like a Moscow Mule but with bourbon.
Oh, right. With that extra kick.
Fancy.
For the holidays.
Is it Crown?
No, it's Maker's Mark.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, it's
The
something.
only one that got like an official drink. We all just got something.
Wow.
ourselves.
I just want to thank you guys for coming on and making yourselves available, right, for this crazy idea. All right, so last week, were you guys able to watch it or no?
I saw.
I watched a bit of it.
I saw for a while.
Okay, so last week, basically we kind of touched up on like gender roles, but like more of like the dating part of it. You were on, Ronald, on the chat, right?
Yeah.
He was trolling us in the chat the whole time. So it was like very like high level, but this week we wanted to kind of talk about like get deeper, and we kind of touched on it when we did like our trial run on Wednesday, and Tiff and I did yesterday as well. So basically, like, what are traditional gender roles? Like, just so to give you an example, it's like what women and men are expected to, how they're expected to dress, act, and like be, right? Whether it's at home or, at work. So for example, like women are not aggressive and men are. Women are dependent and men are independent. Women, stay home and raise the kids. Men go out and, bring home the bacon, things like that. So what, I guess, traditional gender roles did you guys grow up seeing at home or on TV or in your extended family? And which one of those do you find yourselves like falling into?
Check it. Growing up, it was the old school sort of like from our parents. Like I guess, my parents were born I think 50s, 60s. So, but growing up, my dad was the sort of like he worked. He's the one that worked, came home, and my mom was sort of the one, the stay at home mom. I'm gonna have the food ready on the plate when my husband comes home. When he wakes up, I'm gonna cook him breakfast. I'm gonna iron the clothes, make sure everything is good. So very old school like that. I don't know. It's tricky. I agree to a certain extent on the way that sort of worked out, but I also like, my opinion, like I'm attracted to a strong, independent woman. So that's why there's certain aspects of like I also like what sort of my mom did in her role, growing up. But then at the same time, it's kind of like, all right, he could iron his own clothes, bruh. He could cook his own. You know what I mean? Like this, I don't know. It's to a certain extent, and I guess
You don't have to bust your ass.
yeah.
trying-
Like you don't gotta like cater to your husband, but then also like I don't know. I'm very 50-50 when it comes to a lot of things, right? If if the woman's strong and independent, I'm not gonna expect certain things from her, and then vice versa, right? If she wants to cook or do breakfast, or if she wants to cook, like I'll do breakfast, or if she want to do breakfast, then I'll cook, or I try my best, but that at the same time I'm not always good at that either, because again, growing up, that's just what I saw. Like to me, it was like, yo, but you're the woman, like you should be the one to cook. I don't see it like that now, and I don't expect that. But sometimes I do end up, falling sort of the way if I look at it, like a little bit, because I was just so used to it. So sometimes I have to catch myself and be like, damn, all right, like I can't expect her to be doing everything all the time or whatever. But it is definitely, it's almost like it's embedded in me in a way. So sometimes I have to kind of like,
Straight up, yeah.
Relearn.
myself out of
No,
it. Yeah.
I mean,
Reframe
regardless
that
of gender role, everyone likes to be pampered once in a while. So if you cook your girl, breakfast and vice versa, it's not necessarily a demand or a standard she needs to live by. Some people like catering to the other person once in a while. It's just when it becomes a demand, that's when you start looking at things a little differently as to, well, is she supposed to do that, or do you expect that of her all the time? My mom was very different because my mom is a little older. She was born late 40s, early 50s, and she was a professional from the get. And my dad, who, he had, more of the blue collar gig going on, he still expected that meal right then and there. And I remember this one instance that I don't know if that's what shaped me, but my dad got home and my mom got home. She has her physician robe on, whatever, and she goes in the kitchen. I'm there doing my homework, and my dad waltzes in. I would say, 2 minutes later, and my mom is still in the kitchen. Still, you can tell she just came home from work, and my dad turns around and goes, "Sadi, where's the food?" Like, you could tell she just rolled in. You can tell. And when my dad did that,
But that
I was 15.
expectation.
Yeah, that expectation, like, Sadi, ¿dónde está la comida? Because I don't know if the culture had more to do with it, because it was Hispanic culture. And but it was ingrained in me, and there was something in my subconscious that said, yeah, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to do that. That's going to be more of a 50-50 play on my part. I can't. It just fell off. And enough where I was 16, I was like 30 some odd years ago, and I still remember that moment. I went, nah. So I do not prefer I actually feel bad, because then my wife, I remember in the beginning when we got married, she would want to cook for me, and I said, well, you just had a long day at work. Don't worry about it, I'll make myself a sandwich. And it would piss her off. It's like, no, I want to make something good. You're going to eat, and I go, no. And I'm trying to cater to her going, hey, I understand. I had a busy day. You had a busy day. I can eat a hot dog. I can eat a sandwich on my own, and you can put it away. And she felt this need to say, I want to cook for you. So we kind of had like this rift going on. I'm trying to overcompensate, and she's trying to overcompensate. I don't know. But eventually we found our rhythm, Yeah, so the only male thing I do expect... The only male thing, and I'll let anyone else chime in, the only male thing that I do expect, and no one's perfect. If we're at a party, fix me a plate. I hate the whole going there.
Oh my God.
Wait to the last minute. Like she'll usually do it. It's to a point where I don't ask for it, but I know it'll come through. I can go get my damn chips and all that, whatever. But I kind of expect that. hey, we're not perfect, man. I'm being 100% honest here. So there's my take on it.
But Jose, in your family, you told me the other day that even your mom at that time, she chose to be independent before she even settled down. So that in itself was non-traditional.
Yeah, but it's so funny because you would think she had this mindset where her sisters got married very early on in life to, I don't know, get out the house or whatever. I have no idea what their agenda was. But she refused. So she was the black sheep of the family because she waited until she was 27. In 1960 standards, that's like monja. You know, she's never going to get married. But she told my grandma at the time, I refuse to get married until I have my career in check. And I have my own, you know, I can buy she bought her own condo at the time prior to being married. So she graduated college. You know, she was like, I want to be independent. I do not want to lean on a man to provide for me. But yet again, maybe it's the cultural aspect of things. When it came to my household, she was expected to do the laundry, you know, change the diapers, cook the dinner as soon as she got home. So who knows? Again, maybe it's cultural more than anything. Because she was dedicated to carrying out her life a certain way, but you know, you can't judge her. Maybe that's what she wanted to do at home. It's not like it was forced upon her. You know, my dad's never been one of those guys that, you know, was abusive or anything like that. It was just that was their role with each other. That's how they settled on things. So who knows?
Are they both Hispanic?
Puerto Rican and Dominican.
Your dad is Hispanic too?
Yeah.
Okay.
My dad's Dominican. My mom's Puerto
wow,
Rican.
caribeños los dos.
Yeah. Yeah.
La tóxica y el tóxico.
I hear that a lot, man, but I don't think I fit that stereotype, man. I don't think so. No soy caliente. It's very average.
Liquor with beer, bro. That's pretty toxic, I think.
Well, yeah, man, dude. I literally did a splash of beer just to give it a fuzz or a little buzz.
A little bubbly.
What about you, Tiff?
Keeping it classic.
Carbonation. So me growing up, my experience with gender roles and like, you know, who does what. My dad was a truck driver. So my dad was gone for like...
He's a manly man.
He was like gone for like 2 weeks at a time. He'll come home for 4 days and then go back on the road. So it was weird because my mom worked always full time. My mom will pick us up from work instead of having like the yellow bus. My mom will pick us up on her break because she worked like in the area. She'll pick us up, and then every day after school, it was like either Burger King or McDonald's. You know what I mean? And she'll give us the Burger King or McDonald's. She'll drop us off from work, and like we'll go and watch Slime Time Live, Boy Meets World, Sister Sister. You know what I mean? Like Nickelodeon MTV. Like, you know what it says? Like you were raised by MTV and Nickelodeon or whatever. That's basically what it was. So like my dad was present financially, and like I always loved my dad. Like I've always been a daddy's girl, but physically he wasn't always there, you know, because he was working days after days, and then he'll come home. But he's always like paid the bills. Like so, my dad has paid the bills. My mom has taken care of us, cooked, still worked, but her money was more like to buy us things. You know what I mean? So my dad has always had like the stress of providing. And not only providing, but just like having the weight of having to pay all the bills. You know what I mean?
For everyone, yeah.
Cell phone, internet, cable, you know, all of that stuff. And it's always just been like that. So like me then becoming a mom, being in a relationship, me and Chris, we met at T-Mobile. So me and him, we met at work. So everything was like 50-50. When I was pregnant, he moved in. Like the whole thing, I was still working and whatever. And then when Ida was born, we decided to take out our 401k and invest in a business. So like, it's weird because like we're business partners, we're parents, and like we're like fiance, you know, like engaged.
Yeah.
So it's weird. So
Trifecta.
like there's like three spectrums. And
Mhm.
it's all different. It's all different. Like it's all a different communication or like expectation. But like, okay, so the expectation part, it's something that like I'm reframing because
Okay.
expectations are an illusion. You know what I mean? Expectations are illusions. We can't have expectations because expectations come from what we have been programmed to see, what we've been influenced on things that we've heard in our lives. It's one of those things where you have to be very, very careful when it comes to expectations because in the end, like we have no right to have an expectation. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. People are free. Like we're born free, and people have um equal opportunity to do and say what they want to say. You know what I mean? Now there's a level of respect. You know what I mean? Of like just ¿cómo se llama eso? Morals. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like don't fucking kill. Don't like you know what I mean? Like just different things. But if someone says something because that's how they feel and it hurts your feelings, don't fucking call them a bitch or like say something because
Oh
it hurts your
God,
feelings. You know what I mean?
that's a little
Like
much.
people, but look, people have the right to feel and say what they feel. Now, there's a level of respect. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know if you guys agree on
Yeah,
like
no,
what
I've said that to a couple friends of mine. You know, when it comes to relationships, I mean, that is what gender roles kind of ties into it. Really, what I say is, you guys are coming in with habits, many years of habits.
yeah.
Everybody has, what you've picked up from your parents. You do things, and it's going to clash with that other person's X amount of years of habits. So that's where the respect kind of balances things out, because there are things to this
Yeah.
day. I've been married 13 years, and there's still things to
Damn.
this day that just keep going on, and I've learned to let it slide, and vice versa. I know I'm still doing things.
Yeah.
What did you just yell at me off after so long? But there's still things like I can't stand the fact that she'll leave towels on the floor. That
Yeah.
rips me like to shreds. But then I do things, where I leave my if I'm going to take a shower, I drop my whatever I'm wearing, especially if I went biking or something. Drop it there. I'm gonna eventually pick it up. I just don't have to pick it up right then and there. But it's those habits, and again, that is also influenced by your parents, because from what you've seen them do, that also
Or how they
that
cared
also
for
leads
you
in,
as well.
and how they cared for you. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like a perfect balance of all these things. That
But I think
a lot
with
of
that-
folks, without the respect, that's where the clash comes in, because then everyone goes, "Oh no, my way is correct. This is how I do things." Okay, I understand, but
What I was gonna say is, so I sort of I agree with what Tiff was saying to a certain extent of expectations, because check this
your
out.
butt.
It's toxic.
You just spoke about respect, right? So I think in certain situations you have to have expectations, because expectations is sort of what makes you who you are, right? Your morals, right? You know what to you respect is, what loyalty is, right? So I don't know if I could give an example. If I have a best friend and I consider him my best friend, I'm going to have that expectation that in a certain situation, he's going to have my back, or he's going to respect me, or I'm going to expect him that if I have a significant other, that he's not going to go and try to holler at her behind my back. That's my expectation based off of my morals. So, but then I also agree in from a relationship standpoint, having those expectations can hinder that relationship in certain areas, because again, you're kind of programmed to
It's like your own code
Right,
versus
right,
talking
right.
like yeah.
So I to me, there has to be sort of a balance, right? Like, have that expectation, but then also understand that you need to be able to compromise if something doesn't meet those expectations based on whatever situation occurred. So, because I have noticed that, throughout my sort of relationship, that for certain things I have those expectations, but because I'm very passionate about certain things, right? Like I'm very passionate about being respectful and loyal. Like there's certain things based on how I choose to live my life that you have to check off those boxes. And if they don't,
Yeah.
I'm not just gonna, look the other way and be like, well, no, I can't necessarily have those expectations. Like, not because then I'm fooling myself, right? I'm not being authentic with myself, right? So I think to that, to what you said, that's why I sort of like I agree, but then I disagree because that has to be that balance.
Yeah, but I feel like then it comes to like the communication aspect.
So I think that it's two different things. Like I think TIFF means like expectation as in like period. Like this is the expectation period, right? Like in my head, I have the expectation, so someone else should already know it, right? Versus like, you know what, my value, like this is what Ronald's saying, which is this is what's important to me. So you would think that you would attract friends and relationships that have those same values, but sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes they don't value honesty or loyalty. So even though they value your friendship, their code is different. So Tiff's saying like if the expectation just is like concrete, you're gonna expect something that you're not gonna get from someone, and then that's where it like falls.
Because you're already like you're putting an expectation on a person when that other person can play adivino. You know what I mean? They probably have a different upbringing, a different opinion, just a different whole like perspective,
way of thinking. Yeah.
Right.
But that's what communication.
And those expectations.
That's why communication is so important, and to have that communication of like talking. Hey, look, this is what bothers me. This is what I'm okay with, and this is what I'm not okay with, and it's so important to establish that communication when you're building a relationship. So
from the beginning.
From the beginning, so you guys are both on the same page moving forward. So no one's wasting their time.
Right.
And it's interesting because the expectations, as I see it, it's kind of like a murky area because you kind of have to have this conversation with yourself. Is this a universal expectation? Because I like what Ron said. It's like, hey, well, I expect you as a friend not to go after my girl behind my back. That seems to be more like a universal one, which I would agree to. But then
you would think that
everyone. Yes, you're right. Not everyone takes to
apparently
that
not.
Standard. But then there are some expectations where you're thinking, oh, something a little more. I expect my house clean, and here, and it goes, well, is that more your level? Is that more? You have to have that conversation with yourself. Is this more of a me expectation, or is this more of a universal expectation? Because a lot of what Ron said, I agree, without even hesitation. But then there are some things where it's like, I want this house dusted every Tuesday. Every Tuesday.
The white glove test.
And exactly at 7 o'clock at night before I come to work. That seems like a very unique and customized expectation. So I don't know. Maybe have those conversations with yourself.
Listen, and then you go and you dust it, like you're sweating, right? Your shirt's all soaked. And for that person to come and be like, yeah, this wasn't dusted.
You missed the spot.
No, tú no hiciste nada. Like, what?
Oh.
La tóxica.
Damn, no.
So, like, I guess everyone's pretty much, your parents are pretty traditional. Would you guys agree to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in certain things.
It sucks because my mom still had to work. You know what I mean? Like my mom still had to
So
work.
that's non-traditional.
Well.
She still had to.
It's not like my mom didn't work. Like she still worked. My dad would just pay like the main bills. You know what I mean? But my mom still had to cook for me and Katie, and she
still had double.
Yeah,
double the work.
I think more than double. You know what I mean? Like the emotional side, the school, like being aware of like how me and Katie were doing in school, going to like our recitals for dance and like just different things, having us involved in extracurricular activities. I don't know. I feel like it's a lot. So I feel like it was more than half. You know what I mean? Even though my dad
Yeah.
did provide financially, but finances are just one spectrum, like one
Of
piece of
being
the
a parent.
spectrum.
But that's
So,
actually pretty
Being a
good
human
because
being in
now,
a relationship. You know what I
yo,
mean?
like now
Tiff,
you're
let me-
tapping into something. Go ahead.
yeah,
Go
let
ahead,
me ask
Ron.
you a question. So, how understanding, like, while you growing up, how your dad was,
Hmm.
did you ever hold that against him? Like, okay, I understand, like, for your recitals, or if you had
Yeah.
doing sport or activity, and you know, like,
So-
Mhm.
I know my dad has to go out and bust his ass, but he's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
here. Did you hold that against him, or did you, or
I
did
mean,
you
look,
also look at it,
but
like, did you understand?
one of the like I've always been a daddy's girl, but then later on in life, I grew up to find out that he was a fucking fuckboy. You know what I mean? Like he cheated on my mom countless
This is
times.
being edited out.
Like my dad cheated. Like look, my dad cheated on my mom when me and my younger sister were 11 months apart. When my sister was born, meaning I was 11 months, she had just gotten out of the hospital. Okay, like a month after, my mom came home from fucking work. My mom didn't breastfeed us because she went straight back to work. Like she didn't take her 3 months off.
Wow.
And then she was coming back home from fucking work, having two almost newborn children. I was almost 1 year. My sister was a newborn. My mom caught my dad cheating in their fucking apartment, in our home. You know what I mean? So,
Ooh.
but my mom stayed with him because she had nowhere, like, you know what I mean? Like she was stuck with, not stuck, but
She didn't have the
you
means.
know what I mean? She has two newborn kids, almost. And she's living in New York. New York cost of living is fucking expensive. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, what the fuck do I do? So it's like one of those things that, like, I don't know. I don't know if I expect maybe my mom as a woman, like if I were to be in my mom's footsteps and this were to happen to me, you know what I mean? I would like work my ass off or like try to make any means work where I didn't have to stay with him. You know what I mean? After getting cheated on with two newborns. You know what I mean? Like
So would you
Yeah,
say
those-
that
I
you
feel
would
like
like
I folded my mom again. I feel like I judged my mom more than I judged my dad for cheating.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
wow, really?
I judged my mom more for staying
But
than
think,
my dad for cheating. It's crazy,
but
you know?
think about. I mean,
That's an
think about
interesting
something.
perspective.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the twist to that would be, hey, you know what? This guy's fuck boy, and I really can't stand him at the
Fuckboy.
moment. But the fact of the matter is, I love my daughters that much that I'm willing to just bear whatever nonsense this guy has to put out on the table, as long as my kids have been are taken care of. That's a level of sacrifice that not everyone commit to. I'm just saying that could be a flip side to that whole scenario.
I have a question.
It's like
Hold
what
on.
Joanna says, cringy. That shit
Wait,
is
Tiff.
cringy to me.
Wait, Tiff. I have a question for you. Do you hold it against her? And it's a yes or no, right? Like you don't have to get into it. But do you hold it against her because life was hard after that?
For her?
And maybe just in general, like at home, like it was stressful?
I mean,
Or do you hold it like why do you hold it
been
against her?
very, like, she's always been very verbally abusive. So like she took her pain out of us. You know what I mean? Like she took it out of us. And
So you think if she would have left, it would have been healthier?
Oh my God, of course. It would have been more peace
That's
of
why.
mind. Like you
I see.
become detached. You know what I mean? But she was always hanging on to that ese rencor, esa como, oh
Yeah.
my God, that hurt. Of course, it's always gonna hurt when you leave something that like you're accustomed to, or like you know what I mean. It feels comfortable, but it's your comfort. It's all you know. So leaving that, it's always not so much risky, but I mean, it's an emotional risk because you don't know. It's like, are you gonna feel better or worse? You know what I mean? What's gonna happen? And I feel like she bottled up a lot of emotion, a lot of shit that like instead of vocalizing it to my dad, she holded it in because she wanted to keep those family quote unquote dynamics. But in the end, what happens is it ends up hurting the children. You know what I mean? It ends up hurting your kids because
Yeah.
you're bottling up all of these things, and then especially in my case, where my dad was a truck driver, he just said, "Peace out, I'm on the road." You know what I mean? He didn't have the money.
The punching bags.
She'll cool down by the time I get
He
back.
didn't even have to deal with it. You know what
But
I
you know
mean?
what?
Like, he was out on the
Like,
road.
it's interesting because if you look back and that was that happened a lot. I mean, it still happens to this day, but I felt like back then because it was that sort of role, right? The man goes to work, he's the
Yeah.
only one that has a job, busts his ass, the woman just stays home. So it allowed those situations to always happen because that was just the norm. Not the norm of like going out and being with other women, but the norm of I get all the money, I'm gonna pay for everything.
Yeah,
So
my mom
So I
worked.
do what I
My
want.
mom
Yeah,
worked.
so
She wasn't a
and
stay-at-home
It's the
mom.
common scenario.
that's interesting because imagine if you put yourself like I think just looking at the situation. Obviously, like I didn't go through it like how you did, but just looking from somebody on the outside, and I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying, but then at the same time, if you look at it from a mom standpoint that has no job, has two like babies, right, and because her husband has been the one working, like got nowhere to go, or maybe she did, like it's kind of tough being in a situation like that, and that's why sometimes I always understood, like, I mean, growing up, I didn't get it, but like now that I'm a little older, I get it when like your parents would be like, oh, you understand when like you're older or when you got bills or you understand when you got kids, and I always be like, no, I'm not like that, and then I get to there and I'm not the same, but then I'll find myself in that situation and I'll be like, man, like I get it, I get why they would say that, even though I'm not necessarily going about it the same way. I could potentially find myself in that hole too if I wasn't careful or if I didn't like play my cards right. You know what I mean? Well,
But I mean, I feel like it's just like a knowledge, like a knowledge awareness of like what you can do. You know what I mean? Because I would have fucking researched the shit. But back in the day, we didn't.
There was no fucking internet.
There was no
It's not the same.
Yellow pages,
there was no Instagram.
white pages.
Yo.
Right, to milk the shit out of this fucking nigga that just got me pregnant, not once, twice, and then he fucking cheated on me. Oh, hell,
Tiff, back then. Wait,
Tiff,
time out.
Don't hold back.
Back
Tell us how
then,
you really feel.
I know. Yeah, I
Oh,
will. Child support plus motherfucking give me like so. I would not have stayed.
Tiff, back then, you couldn't get divorced without both signatures.
My mom and my dad are not married.
Oh, forget it.
They never got married.
It's a because look, we're looking at it now from our perspective now. But if like, and maybe a small portion of you, maybe you would have been able to be like, hey, look, I'm out. But it maybe might have taken you a little longer. And then you eventually would have. But for us to sit here and say, like, in your situation, because this happens to me all the time. Like, now I know myself. Like, if I was in that situation, that same night, I would have been.
Yeah. But you never know. Like, you never know.
You never know.
You never know.
What if you were living
in New York? Yo, I would have been.
Nah, man. I put my money that Tiff would have had 4 babies. And that's given that same situation.
What?
She would have 4. So given that same situation, like, my money's that Tiff would have had 4 babies. Still been with that dude.
If that,
you would have locked them down.
Yo, I would have been like, you know what? I'm not gonna start with this.
No, she's like, how many more kids do I need to be good on tax season and welfare?
No, but that's fucked up. That's fucked up. I mean, in a way, like it takes killing of the ego, like a lot of killing of the ego of like, fuck, like that sucks.
I think it's also fear, Tiff, because think about it. You got 2 babies.
Definitely for the most part, it's fear.
So in my household, right, both of my parents, so my parents came here like newlywed, maybe a year or 2, and then like I was created somewhere along that line, so I'm sure I wasn't planned. So like Tiffany was saying, like, you know, like when you grow up in a stressful environment because of either whatever, like the state of your relationship, because you're moving to a new country, you got to figure that shit out, and it's just a lot of factors. But my parents, my dad always worked, right? But my mom, she told me the other day, she's like, in Colombia, I didn't work. You know, usually like she's the second youngest of 13. So like the men or the boys in the house, like when her dad passed away, she was little. So they took over providing for the rest of the kids. So they went to work and they, you know, I think one of them moved to Venezuela. He would send money 13? For school and like.
You have 13 uncles.
Yeah. My grandma's 103, Ronald. We share the same grandma, so
what?
She's 103. Yeah.
Good genes, man.
Can she still walk and you know hold it?
Did you just say? Can she still walk?
Yeah, can she still walk on her own? My grandma can't. My grandma's 87.
No, you said WAP.
WAK. No, WA.
Oh.
WA.
No, because she was.
Oh, that visual.
Can't even spell it.
She was like, damn, 13? Does she still walk?
She's still
walk.
No.
Does she still walk? I think she could stand. I don't know if they let her walk on her own, just in case.
No,
she
that's
doesn't.
great. That's amazing.
But
103, like wow.
Yeah, but she's not all there anymore. You know, she doesn't recognize us and stuff like that. But yeah, so my mom was telling me that her brothers, right, the men of the house, assumed the responsibility to provide for the mom, to provide for the rest of the girls. You know, I mean, I think out of 13, 4 were men or 5 were men, so the rest were women. So then in Colombia, she didn't work. And then obviously when they came here, out of necessity, both of my parents worked. So growing up, like, I was like, they would leave me at like my cousin's house or someone's house because they were always working. So in that sense, like, non-traditional, right? Because my mom wasn't like at home caretaking or anything. I barely even saw my parents sometimes. But in like role wise, my mom did cook, you know, for my dad. She cleaned and stuff like that. He would cook on the weekends, so that's kind of like even. But I think I would say what I kind of like fall into or have fell into is that, like, you guys or men as a whole, like, in the old school, it was like you're always right. Like, so your word is that's it, and the woman just stays silent and just, you know, submits. No, it's true. Like, there was times where like my dad would say some shit, and I would be like, "You're not gonna say nothing." You know, like. Yeah. But it was like, you know, you want to avoid rocking the boat because the guys are allowed to be like, you know, tough and aggressive and I'm right and the ego and whatever. And the women just kind of laugh behind your back, but they don't tell you to your face, you know, like they're just like, okay. So then, like, I think like now, because I'm pretty like in the middle, like I'm not dependent. I'm very like independent. Me la busco, you know, like I figure it out, like I'm assertive and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say I fall into that kind of role, but there's been times where I've caught myself either remaining quiet, you know, to appease someone's ego, like a male ego. Like instead of like, let's say it's something they're saying is wrong or off, or just they're just trying to like, I don't know, like show off. And like what they're saying is untrue, or maybe they think that they're good at something and then they're not, you know, whatever it is. Like, no, but it's just like, or even in school, like playing basketball or something, like I remember kind of being like, okay, don't play too well because this person's going to get upset.
Really?
And like, yeah.
Girl or
and
a guy
I didn't
or just
catch
a guy?
that. No, it was a guy. Because, like, if, like, your friends, for example, like, if we were in PE, and, like, your friends are always going to, like, root you on, like, yeah, you know, because you're a girl. Because I would like to, I played sports, so I didn't like staying indoors or, like, playing with Barbies. I was very, like, a tomboy, so I wanted to be outside. And then like my friends would be like, like let's play. But if it was someone I didn't know and like, I outplayed them, let's say, they would take it personally. They would get insecure about it, and it doesn't help when like your friends are like, yeah, she dunked on you, like stupid stuff like that. So like,
talk about girl.
exactly. So,
Sorry.
and like even like in my adult, hood, like it was certain times where I would just choose to like, I'm just gonna stay, like under the radar because I don't want anyone to think, I'm trying to step on your toes, like, or
What
things
sign
like
are
that. So, Aries. So, and that kind of changed when I used to work with Jose and Carlos, and Jose was my boss at that time. And I think working there kind of changed that in a sense because Jose, like, first day was like, listen, no egos here. If I'm fucking wrong, you need to tell me I'm wrong because then we're wrong.
I'm used to women being right.
No, but it was like he almost,
Yeah.
and I've never told him this, but like it, and Carlos too, like it was a team, and like they had more experience than I did, and like they were above me, but they were like, everything is equal here, if you have a good idea, like don't be afraid to speak up and things like that, and that kind of gave me the confidence to do that. But like before, it was like I had to be so careful because like you guys can say whatever comes out of your head, and it could be blunt and hurtful, and people are gonna laugh. But when a woman says it, they're gonna be like, "Oh God,"
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
like she's a bitch.
Exactly.
She's a fucking bitch. Yeah.
Yeah, double standard. That's that double standard. It
But
still
then
runs
if
through.
Ronald says it, it's like, "Oh, he's so funny." He's just trolling.
But then I'm like, nah, I'm being serious. Okay.
But you get what I mean? Like we have to be like more careful about like how we say things so we don't hurt someone's feelings or like someone's ego and then
So,
whatever.
Joanna, are
So-
your parents
so
Yeah, I
together
mean, my
still?
dad.
Me?
Your parents are still together?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What were you
My
gonna say,
dad's
Mara?
pretty old school though, but because and we were talking about this before, like he's really open-minded and stuff like that, but he's still like, he has that tough guy switch on. So it's like, you can never get him like vulnerable. You can never see that side. Like he's always going to have that switch on. And it sucks,
and that's like the toxic masculinity that everyone's talking about. You know what I mean? Guys can't show their emotion, and there have to be this tough guy. It's
So
like-
what I was
you
gonna
know-
say?
Mhm.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, in that regard, I've never seen my dad vulnerable. Ever. And that was his role.
Not
So
even
if
once?
you're gonna
You never seen him cry?
Never. He hugged me, I
Never?
think, once.
Don't worry,
think.
my mama never
I can't,
hugged
if it
me.
happened, I can't remember it. I think it was my graduation. I think he just hugged me and said, "Good job." That's as far as this. But that's not even vulnerability. But I'm saying in the sense of he's never. Hell no, I've never seen him cry. And that in the traditional roles that we're speaking to, that my parents had. My mom was the fountain of emotion. So she's the one who said, "You can do this. Oh, you're so intelligent. Oh my God, you brought another A," or "Oh, I loved you." In the
Jose,
talent
I love
show."
your hair.
Tear. No, that's my vulnerability.
Well, at least you
But-
get it from one parent. You know what I mean?
The balance.
But it
the
was
balance.
it was a balance, but it was extreme because I felt like my mom was that kind of person that if she stuck her finger out, a Disney cartoon would perch on it and start singing. Like she was always upbeat, upside, everything was and it was a little much. But then on my dad's side, he was militant. So his thing was, I do not want a pussy.
Yeah.
I will refuse to raise a pussy on my watch. So he's been very militant. Now the only time, I'm not gonna say that he's not vulnerable, like I said, I stand to that statement. I've never seen him, but I have seen him being sweet with my kids. So that part of enjoying children and laughing, if you want to have that as a shade of vulnerability, then yes, that's okay. But to say that, oh my God, I failed. Oh my God, I've been fired. Oh my God, how am I going to pay this? And confining me because he's scared and he doesn't know what the next move will be. Hell no. And I don't think I'll ever see it. Ever.
Again, like things I feel like maybe in another generation from now, another decade, things are slowly starting to change, right? Maybe you'll start seeing a lot more men that are in tune with their emotions and are a lot more softer, because those men that grew up with that tough dad, when now we're having kids, then we're wanting to treat them, give them a lot more love, to where that may potentially change the sort of algorithm moving forward, because now kids are maybe getting more love from their dads than in previous generation wasn't the case, right? And then it'll just keep building, and then eventually, I mean, I hope we never get there, but you essentially sort of start losing the whole what it is to be a machismo, or what it is to be a man, because things are constantly evolving.
So do you guys agree that our parents, for the most part, I think I would say like mostly were traditional, but maybe in certain aspects grew out of it or weren't traditional, and then that now we're growing into a space where those roles no longer
I didn't take that out of your mouth.
barely exist in our current roles, in our current relationships.
Yeah,
you guys agree with that?
That yes, I would agree to that. But you know what's funny? Because so I am, I got two kids here who are now looking at my way of interacting with my wife, and they're taking cues on things, and I feel that I strayed somewhat from what my dad or my upbringing was with my parents, and I feel I'm more at a progressive point. But they may look at it years down the line and go, yo, my dad, he always drove the car. My mom never drove the car. What a sexist prick, because I tend to do that. I always drive. Why didn't mommy ever drive? We don't know, not unlike her parent, in my opinion, not unlike her parents, it's something that could only be reflected on as,
in the future.
Change, traditions change, something in the future. We may look at we may look at things, and Ron and Joe and Tiff, we're going, oh no, we're actually very good. We're kind of like in the middle, and we are now the new hardcore traditional, and it'll soften up a little. Who knows? I mean, it's trends, it's changes. I think you can only do what you know at the moment, and if the other partner is receptive to it, not unlike Ron, he said your mom was fine with cooking and cleaning and making sure everything. She may not have seen it as this hardcore stance where by today's standards, you look back on it and go, oh man, look at that. Look what happened to Ron's mom. No, man. She was happy in the moment. And your dad was happy in the moment. And like I said, even my example, my dad, even though he was the blue collar and my mom was the professional, and she made way more money, they still, in some sort of line, they agreed to those roles they set for themselves. And I'm here setting my roles with my wife now. But again, who's to say until years down the line what is progressive, what is conservative? We're never gonna know. I mean, we're not never gonna know, but it will be just
gonna evolve
accordingly.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stay evolving.
Well, thank you guys for having this awesome discussion with me today. I hope you guys had a good time.
Yes, I did.
That we did. Always do.
Shameless plug. Tiff is a yoga teacher. You want to tell everyone where to follow you at?
Well, I have a kids yoga page. I'm a kids yoga teacher, and I also teach adults. So for adults, or just like my regular page is Excavating Roots Yoga. And my kids yoga page is Kids Yoga Girl. So I teach all the way from like 3-year-olds to high school. I'm planning in January, once a month, do like a kids yoga class in Tropical Park, which is maybe closer to you guys because I live all the way in Sunny Isles Beach, a little north.
When is this?
Starting in January, once a month. I want in Tropical Park. I want to do a kids yoga event. Well, more like a family yoga where it's, the parents can join in with the kids, and it's like a 2-hour class. That's going to be in January. And yeah, for the most part, I mean, I teach sunrise yoga, adult yoga in studios, just a little bit of everything.
All right, guys, have a great rest of your Sunday.
Yes.
Go shop for trees. Go get sober.
Go get sober.
And go take your kids some showers.
Yeah.
We're salty over here.
Oh God.
All right,
Good
guys.
talking to you guys.
All right, have a good night. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Jose. Nice to see you, Ronald.
Likewise.
And hopefully
guys.
we'll hang out soon. Bye.
For sure. Bye.
Yeah.
See you.